Welcome to the B Sound Podcast. It is October 8th, 2021. And wow, we are already a week into October. Where does the time go, right, guys? Anyway, got a little bit of a weird podcast for you today. And we'll get into, the normal stuff. I'll talk about the music that I've worked on this week and that kind of thing. The two bands I'm involved in and, the three bands I'm involved in. Maybe we'll discuss a little bit of that. And the other thing we'll discuss today, and the main topic, is something I was on a walk today and decided, that would be a fun topic to talk about. I was trying to think of things like, what does my higher self want to talk about? What is something that's valuable to people, that gives others value, that is exciting to me to discuss? And I went through a few things in my head, and I came up with the topic of the butterfly effect and how does it affect creative people like you and I. And, I'll make this really short. Basically, what I think about the butterfly effect is, for people like us, for people who make art and are trying to follow their calling, whether you make art or not, really, this can affect you. But if you're trying to follow your calling, you might think at times it's not worth it, right? Maybe you think what you're doing won't make a difference, or no one will hear what you do, or no one will see what you're doing. And it feels like, why am I doing it? And that's kind of a shitty feeling, right? But I think that there are ways to remedy that, first of all. But the thing that a lot of people do is they either don't do anything, which is going to go nowhere for you. Or, people will do stuff about it, maybe kind of put something out there, and then they do very little about trying to get a response. We discussed that last week about ways to be heard, at least as a musician, but there's a ton of avenues you can do if you really want to get your stuff out there and have people see it and things like that. But this isn't what this is about. So what I really want to get to today is how the butterfly effect really affects you as a creative, right? And what was interesting about this is, while I was doing just a tad bit of research on the butterfly effect before doing this podcast, I came across this thing in the Webster's Dictionary, which states the butterfly effect is a property of chaotic systems, such as the atmosphere, by which small changes in initial conditions can lead to large-scale and unpredictable variations in the future state of that system. So basically, what that's saying is, in chaos theory, there's a bunch of chaos happening, and small changes in that affect giant things, right? There's a ripple effect. You throw a pebble into a pond, and you see the ripple go out for, miles, right? And that's kind of the idea of the butterfly effect, too. That it'll be a little more unpredictable than those ripples, though. And maybe you can see where I'm going with this. But one of the things I want to touch on really quick before going there is examples of the butterfly effect that they have in this Merriam-Webster dictionary. The very first one is a quote from Tony M. Fountain, Forbes magazine, done September 13th, 2021. And this is interesting because it ties right in with the music thing. It says, the rise of the internet from the late 1990s has played a crucial role in how music is consumed globally, setting up a butterfly effect that inadvertently affects how musicians and artists are compensated and paid. Now, that's an interesting concept. And it's basically saying that things that were set up in the 90s, probably Napster and things like that, have ultimately rippled out to a way we could have never seen it, which is the way musicians are paid today, which is through streaming, Spotify, and, through merch and things like that, in ways that were never foreseen in the 90s. In the 90s, it was a way different thing. Music was done basically by the corporate overlords, right? They would come in and you would either be picked or you weren't. And anyone else was struggling to make it, kind of similar as today, but there was a lot more money in music then. And they would throw a lot of money at the wall to get things to stick. And that, not so much anymore. These days, you have to kind of prove yourself if you want to get signed to a big label, and then that label will take what you've already done and kind of blow it up bigger. Okay, but that's kind of neither here nor there as far as what I'm talking about with the butterfly effect. Now, what I'm saying is you should do your calling, whatever it is, the art or music or whatever it is that's calling you to be done, right? That thing that's that higher calling that you is part of you and you really want to go for it. Well, there's a reason that's there and you should follow that. And it doesn't even matter if no one hears it. That's the whole point of this butterfly effect thing. If no one hears what you're doing, if no one sees it, it still makes a difference. Just because you did something and no one saw it doesn't mean it didn't make a difference, right? And think about this. It's because when you do something, that action has effect on the rest of your life. It ripples out to the rest of your life. Like me doing this podcast right now is going to affect my life in front of me for the rest of my life. Now you might be like, what? You're just doing a podcast. It's stupid. You go on with your life like normal. Well, yes, but me doing this podcast, out of the infinite amount of things I could be doing right now, has an effect on my future. Just like you listening to this podcast right now, you viewing this podcast has an effect on your future. So you might be like, well, okay, let's say I make something and no one sees it. Still, you made that thing. You answered the call and did the thing that you were supposed to do. And that's going to lead to something somewhere along the way. Will it be a platinum selling song, or will it be an artist gallery piece of art? Maybe, maybe not. And the thing is, it doesn't really matter. What matters is you followed the calling and you did what you were supposed to do. Now, I know that sounds like a bunch of hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo stuff. But really, if you think about it, like psychologically, you doing these things because they matter to you, that leads you on to the next stage of your life. It's part of your story. It's part of this narrative that you build for yourself to become who you are and leave your unique mark on the world. And, we need unique marks in the world. A lot of people never follow that little voice in their head that tells them, hey, I really think you should be doing this. They're afraid of it or whatnot. And I'm saying you have no reason to be afraid of it, first of all. And secondly, do the thing. It doesn't matter if people see it or not. What matters is you've done the thing you're supposed to do, and the butterfly effect will ripple out in ways that you could not imagine. But if you're doing this thing that is a net positive for you because you've created something from nothing, it can only reap some benefits down the road. At least that's what I like to believe. So that's my thing on the butterfly effect. We're not going to go too much further into it. I'd like to hear what you think about it. Go ahead and let me know in the comments below. Make a reply video if you want. And of course, while you're down there, hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down. I don't care. Whichever one you like or dislike. Let me know if this is the kind of stuff you like. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Share this with some friends that you want to share it with, and maybe you can have a discussion about the butterfly effect and what it means to you. I think it's a fascinating topic. Anyway, let's get into a little bit before we go. This week in music. And really, there's not too much to report. The band that I'm in, the Woos, we'll call it, we took kind of a breather this week and last week. Our drummer kind of pulled his back out. So we kind of took time this week to just listen back to all the songs we've done in the past couple months here. And kind of just reflect. Right? I think it's a good idea to do that every once in a while, is reflect. And we came up with a pretty fun idea for next week as well. So hopefully next week I can report that we actually followed through with that idea and made something pretty awesome. But in the meantime, there was a song that was kind of left in limbo that Jeremy had worked on. And he did his vocals to it. And I got to say, they were pretty damn awesome. I went ahead and mixed it, and I sent it out to those guys. And seeing Dick Boots a few days later, we got on stream doing Game Beaters, and he was telling me, I don't know if it was on stream or right before the stream, that song was so kick-ass and maybe one of the best things we've ever done. And, I got to hand it to Jeremy. He did a stellar job with that thing. I don't know if it's the best thing we ever did, but it's up there. It's probably in the top 20, which is saying a lot considering we have hundreds of songs. So, yeah, I like it. And hopefully we can share it sometime. I think you guys would like it. And BoboBot, there's not much to talk about there. I'm letting that simmer for a bit. I've got a little bit of a outline of what I want to do with it, but I'm letting that sit this week. So there's that, and then Nirvana got a gig offer, so we're going to go ahead and take that for November 20th, I think. That'll be fun. It's always fun to get out there and play for some folks, and and it's just fun to go play Nirvana music. It's a lot of fun for me to just sit back, play bass, and enjoy playing the bass. That's all there is to that band, and I like it a lot. It's just fun. Fun to play those songs and fun to play the bass and be with those guys that are in the band too. And of course, Nirvana fans, right? Like, I love it. So that being said, I think that's about it for this week. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate you. And we'll see you same bad time, same bad channel. Oh, before I forget, this week coming up on the podcast, we have Zach Hagen. And that's going to be an interesting conversation. Zach is a musician. I mixed one of his albums a long time ago, probably, 2015 or 2016? And he's come a long way since then, but he's not really doing music as much anymore, but he's doing podcasting now. And it's an interesting kind of podcasting, one that I'm not that familiar with, but it's, it's kind of like fan fiction podcasting, which was fascinating to me, just to see that kind of world and that kind of different thing. So if that's something you think you'll be into, go ahead and check out next week's podcast this Tuesday. And yeah, I think that's something you'll enjoy. So again, thanks for being here. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Go ahead and like it and share and all that fun stuff. And until next time, be sound.